Okay, it's day 247 off the grid, and yeah, another MavTech one. You're probably getting sick of these, but today was a big day for me here. I uploaded a whole lot of new tracks to the player, and hopefully we'll have a more varied play out now for the radio station. What else did I do? I did quite a lot. Have a look at the rack. It's looking a bit different now, isn't it? Jim came over and helped me find some screws. He went through a box of screws we had here and found some machine screws that fit this rack case. So I've been able to rack up the limiter and the line amp and the switching relay. And I really needed to do that because I've added this new piece of kit, this wonderful device here, into the system. Have a look inside. Oh, what's those glowy things? Yep, it's valve. It is most certainly valve. And this is an ancient, basically domestic stereo amplifier. Quite a good one, it would seem. It's an American one. So we've got this step-down transformer here to run it. And what this is doing is it's serving two purposes, actually. The problem with the computer was the output from the sound card was not strong enough to drive the balancing transformers we use, because I mean this is radio, and most of the stuff around here, well, all the sort of serious stuff is 600 ohm lines. Like all this stuff is 600 ohm balanced lines, and it never was really grunty enough to drive the transformer very nicely, and lost a bit of tone that way. And also, the sound coming out of the computer to my ears was a little bit thin, and it needed kind of warming up. Well, there's nothing better to warm things up than valves, because after all, they're warm, aren't they? So that's what this does. So I've rerouted the output of the program computer through this first. Goes into an auxiliary input on here. And then it goes to the transformer, and I'll see if I can get around here and show you the back, because this is quite interesting how I've done it. I've actually used the speaker outputs. I did consider using the tape outs, which are just down here. No, over this side. Over this side, there's a couple of RCAs. You know what an RCA looks like. That's the tape out. Because interestingly enough, this amplifier actually, you can adjust the level of the tape out with the volume, and you can adjust the tone with the tone controls, which is unusual, of course. Normally a tape out is pre all that stuff, but not in this case. However, that still didn't give me enough grunt, so I decided just to tap the speaker outputs instead. And plus, that means that we get to use these wonderful EL84 power stages to add even more character to the sound, which is really cool. Of course, you can't run a valve amp without a speaker, so I've installed these resistors here, as you can see. These are the dummy loads. And this amp's got a nice selection of impedances for each channel. It's got 4 ohms, 8 ohms, 16 and 32 ohms. So the resistors are 4.7 ohm resistors, and so they're tapped across the 4 ohm and ground output, as you'd expect. But the transformers themselves are wired between the ground and the 32 ohm output, because naturally there's more voltage there, so that's what you'd expect. But notice there's two transformers. Well, these signals are actually monoed, and they're monoed because this switch here, it's a bit cruddy knob on it, but you know, it's set so that the two channels are monoed together. And only this side, which is the right hand side, is actually feeding the program computer into our system for broadcast. It's just this transformer. But what this other one is it's a feed of the program computer that goes into here, and it comes out a speaker in the old studio. Well, an amp and a speaker at the moment, which is a little tally, actually. More of that in a minute. Yeah, so this comes out in the old Heritage studio. So when Wayne comes in for his radio shows on Saturday and Sunday, he can hear what the playout computer's doing, so he can switch over smoothly. So yeah, it was quite a bit of a mission getting that done. Lucky I had a spare line, but now all 4 lines of that Cat 5 are used up. If I want any more, I'm going to have to run another cable. But yeah, speaking of TV, at the moment I was in a real hurry. I was in a real mega hurry today because it's all ready again. Stupidly late. I'm going to have to give up the firewood mission from Jim's place again to get back to Baffy and the boys. But you know, these things, this speaker needed to be done and a few other things needed to be done. Well, anyway, for reasons of expediency, I reasoned that the easiest thing to grab with an amplifier and a speaker and a line in was a TV. So I actually found this TV here upstairs. But I thought, hey, wouldn't that actually be better than the one I originally had here, which is a little bit dicey. You know, you could tap on the TV like this on the other one and the picture would flicker and stuff and go from colour to black and white and stuff, which didn't really affect its use as a monitor for seeing what track you're playing on that CD player. But I thought, let's just have a nicer TV here. So I put this one here and threw the other one in the studio, in the old Heritage studio. Now, notice the Foxton Ghetto Blaster has gone. At the moment, I've just thrown up the single Philips speaker as the main monitor from the Sony amp down there. It's just a mono, but that's all right for now. It's just a temporary fix. I'm going to find some better speakers to put in here, but I didn't have time, but I found that one that had a cable on it, so, you know, good to go. If I can't find anything better than the Foxton Ghetto Blaster, it might come back in here. Currently, it's been hauled out to the museum as a bit of a display item for this little council shindig that's coming up on Friday night. So it's been considered a bit of a special item. I personally would have just tore it apart and taken the speakers out of it and used the speakers, but no, we can't do that. It's a special exhibit of Foxton ingenuity. So it's going to be displayed at this little social gathering that's being organised on Friday night as an exhibit. Wow. So I just chucked this Philips here up in the meantime. Of course, this speaker here is just the monitor speaker from this amp, which I've already talked about. So it's not an odd mashed stereo pair or anything. It's just, this is the speaker for that amp, and this is currently the temporary speaker for that amp. And I think, yeah, that should do. That should do. That's covered everything today. That's what I've done. I'm just real chuffed with this. It successfully warmed up the sound, and it solved the problem of having more level to pump over to the other studio and not load any outputs down here. And I just wanted to get some valves into the play here. I mean, after all, this is an AV museum, and I just thought it was not right to have a radio station, even though, you know, some of the gear's a bit more, you know, modern, that didn't have valves in it, you know. So now we've got some valves, or tubes. I should say tubes because this is an American amp. Yeah, so there we go. That's day 247, and I'll catch you later.